This is quiz number 5, and it is on Chapter 6, Railroads. So quiz number 5, Chapter 6, Railroads. Let's get started here. Question number 1. During 2006, railroads carried what percentage of all intercity ton miles moved? This was just in the material. If I can find it. Here. It was somewhere right after the intro. Okay, right here, page 197. In 2006, railroads shipped about 43% of all ton miles moved by all transport modes. So that is your answer. 43%. Question 2. Intermodal competition is, and this is just kind of a definition. So it's like interstate, intrastate. So intermodal is competition between different modes, not within the same mode. Intramodal would be competition within the same mode. So this refers to competition from road and air and pipeline and other transportation modes. So if you look through these answers, A is going to be the answer that we're looking for based on this definition. Okay. Question 3. Which has been a major reason for the decline in the number of rail companies? This would be mergers. There used to be a lot of companies, and they've continually merged and merged and merged. I think they're almost done because there's no more merging left to be done. Let's take a look here in the book. I think it was like 50. Hold on. I think there's 50 mergers in the last 20 or 30 years or something like that. Page 201. Wrote it down here. Here it is. Page 201. Right here, second paragraph. One of the major reasons for this decline in both the number of companies and the miles of track has been the significant number of mergers or unifications that have occurred in the railroad industry during the past 30 years. A total of 28 mergers have taken place during the past 30 years. A lot. Yeah, a lot. 28 mergers and 50 unifications overall. So there you go. That is the answer right there. Yes. Question 3. So mergers and unification is why. Question 4 is just logical from that. One of the benefits of a railroad merger is less interchanges between companies, means faster service. Fewer grade crossings, not really, because you're still dealing with the same infrastructure for the most part. Cities and towns get back land, not really the same infrastructure again. STB, that has nothing to do with it really. So this A here, it may not be A on your exam if you go look, but because they're randomized, but this answer, less frequent interchanges between companies, means faster service. Question 5. The railroads dominate the market for hauling. Which one is the right one here? A. Well, let me see. D would not be right because you're looking for smaller shipments for shorter distances. That's not really right. Coal and chemicals. They're a player, but not really predominant so much. Let's see. This is on page, where are we at here? Oh, page 204 really has information. Yeah, right here. Railroads are constrained obviously by the tracks, so they can't go anywhere but where their tracks are. So that's kind of a problem. But right here in the third paragraph, right here in the middle, railroads dominate the market for hauling 30. There's the answer. Hauling 30,000 pounds or more over distances exceeding 300 miles. There you go. That would be the answer. Oversized and over-dimensioned shipments, maybe that's not really, that's kind of more of a problem for them actually because they can't fit it onto the rail cars. So yeah, B is certainly not a good answer there. Question 6, the basic unit of measurement for railroad freight handling is known as the carload. This is just a basic definition. I did see that in the book here. It's under equipment. Page 206. Where is it? Right here. Under equipment, the carload is the basic unit of measurement of freight handling used by the railroads. So, just a basic definition there. Just a term you should know. Question 7. Which type of railroad car has the greatest numbers in service? So which is the most commonly used? And there was a chart in this equipment section. Here we go. So right here are the descriptions of each of the type right here in this paragraph, before and after. But this illustration shows you the percentage of what's being used, what's in use. So you could just see right away in this pie chart, covered hopper is the most being used right now, 29.7%. So that's question 7. Question 8. What is the difference between TOFC, which is trailer on freight car, and COFC, which is container on freight car service? So these are also in the book described. So the descriptions start on page 208. So right here, TOFC, this is where the trailer on freight car description starts. It goes through here, and then next is COFC over here. So you go back and read that, but basically, trailer on freight car is what's usually pulled by a semi-truck, and then they can actually load that onto a little flat, like a flatbed trailer car. So that's definitely like an intermodal type of function there. Container on freight car is probably what's come off of, probably oftentimes like come off of a ship for container service, and that's really going to go just from one place to another. It's really going to be unloaded kind of where it's needed for the most part, or maybe put on another truck, but that's a whole other separate operation. So it's kind of a little more tedious to transfer that container. So oftentimes it's going to go to its end location more often than not, because the trailer on freight car is what's going to be able to move it if it wasn't going to its final location. So COFC is actually probably less costly because it's just going from point to point. Closed container, don't have to worry about it anymore. TOFC is actually, and it's actually faster in a lot of ways because it's going to be able to be taken from door to door, not necessarily constrained by the rail. So this is really what we're looking for here, is just the definition of this. It's kind of an odd question, but this is a question from the publisher, so I didn't really make it up. And trust me, I have a whole list of these questions, and I throw many of them away because they're very weird. They don't make sense. Yes, you only get the good questions. Question 9. And when I took this class, we got all of the questions, and some of them weren't even written in cohesive English. Literally. Very crazy. Question 9. What is the major cost element of the railroad? This is definitely the rights of way. For sure. This is on page 211. So these are the fixed costs of operation. Right here. So cost structure, fixed costs, and fixed costs are costs that you have to pay, right? Fixed costs they're just what you start with. Whether you really have any business today or do 1 unit of business or a billion, well maybe not a billion, but 1,000 units of business, your fixed cost is what you start with. So your fixed cost is already given. And right here in bold, rights of way is the major cost element. So basically the tracks, having the tracks there and taking care of them is your biggest cost problem. Question 10. Railroad per unit cost decline as traffic increases. This is a operations management theory. OMG420, right? Hopefully. At least I know the better professors definitely cover this. And this is very important to find your optimum production level oftentimes, right? Because you have your costs and your sales, profits. These are all part of that. So right here, a large proportion of fixed costs in the cost structure. This is really not a very good question either, now that I'm looking at it. There's variable costs. Okay, so with this fixed costs, obviously variable costs are your other costs, which are per unit cost. So I don't like this question. So I'm going to remove this question from the exam. Yeah. I'll just take it out. I don't like it. So we'll pretend that one's not there. I'll see if everyone... Actually, what I'll do is I'll give everyone credit. I'll see if a lot of people missed it. I'll either take it out or make it... No, well, I'll do something with that. So we'll just ignore this question. Let's pretend it doesn't exist. As you can see, the publisher questions aren't very cool. Oftentimes. Question 11. What was the purpose of the legislation which created Amtrak? We talked about this on the last exam. And basically it relieved railroads from the responsibility of providing passenger service. And as we said in the last review, they were somewhere around $500 million in debt in, I think it was 1960? Something like that. That's a lot of money nowadays. I don't even know how much that would be in 2013 dollars, but that's bad. Very bad. And I made a little note here. This is on page 215 if you want to read about it. I think it was called the Rail Passenger. Here it is. Rail Passenger Act of 1970. So that's kind of when they got it going. We talked about that in the last exam. So this is the correct answer. Relieved railroads from the responsibility of passenger service because it's still a public good that's needed. So it's just subsidized by the government. Question 12. Intermodal expanded by, and this was just in the book, so 216. Somewhere on this page. Nope. Really quickly. Here it is. Intermodal traffic has expanded by 484%. So that's just information that was in the book. Question 13. Railroads are, and then you can look at these things, equally as energy efficient as road transport? No. Not as energy efficient as most other modes? No. We'll talk about that in a minute. More likely to haul final consumer goods than other modes? No, because that was really road, right? More energy efficient than than most other modes. This is the correct answer, and we'll take a look at that because this is actually very important. That could mean it's on the midterm. This is very important. This is page 217. So this is the relative fuel efficiency, and they all use different types of fuel. So they used BTU, which is a measure of energy used. It stands for British Thermal Units, but you'll pretty much never hear that. You'll just hear BTU more often than not. You've probably heard this when you deal with barbecues, right? So you could see here that rail is very low with the energy fuel efficiency required to get it working. And once a rail train is moving on the rail, to move 1 ton of freight, I think it's 400 something. I think it's 434, but it's 4 something, the low 400s. So 400 something miles can be moved, a ton can be moved with 1 gallon. Pretty amazing. That has to do obviously with the weight and the inertia and the rolling energy, but once it's rolling, it's pretty efficient. So definitely for long haul, rail is good. I think it's 434 if I'm not mistaken. That might not be correct, but it's 4 something. So 400 odd miles can move 1 ton. 1 gallon can move 1 ton around 400 miles. Sorry, dyslexic math there. And who's the largest single customer of railroads? That would be UPS, for sure, hands down. And a side note, this is in the book too, on page 209. But on a side note, and we'll talk about this in the next few weeks when we start talking about actual transportation within companies. Amazon, I believe right now is somewhere around 20% of UPS's business. Huge, totally huge. And Amazon is actually positioning themselves to become more involved themselves with transportation. And they're actually pretty smart. We'll go over this, like I said, in the next few weeks, but Amazon's pretty forward thinking. They've actually bought they bought one company that does inter-warehouse, like automated inter-warehouse movement. So they have that. They bought a lot of warehousing companies. who knows? They might buy UPS someday, but and anything they see that they need for the future, or that can help them, or help them run their business plus run other businesses. They actually do a lot of internet hosting too for many major companies on the side. People don't know that, but so Amazon, we're going to talk about that a lot because they're actually a very interesting business model that is changing a lot of how things are done nowadays. But for this question, UPS is the largest single customer, and Amazon is their largest single customer. Question 15. The major cost element borne by the railroad industry is, and I think we just talked about that, the rights of way, part of their fixed costs. So that's question 15. Question 16, the extra credit, who or what company or entity owns the railway tracks that make up the Alameda Corridor. So that's owned by the Alameda Corridor Transportation Authority. They're actually housed in one of the buildings that's part of the City Hall of Carson, right here on Avalon and Carson Street. So they're actually right there. And BNSF and Union Pacific are the ones that have the trackage rights through there. And they're the two big players for rail. So Burlington Northern, Santa Fe, and Union Pacific. And BNSF just recently built a hub rail yard near Vernon. So the Alameda Corridor connects to that. Interestingly, the Alameda Corridor, though, actually I just went on a tour last week, a very small tour that was part of a conference. And we actually got to go down in the corridor around just north of the 91 freeway. There's a pump station there on this. It's a small street called Greenleaf, but we actually got to go down there, and security is totally high. Nobody ever gets to go down there, so we got to see it. It's pretty cool. We got to go down on the tracks. Maybe luckily no train came by when we were there because I think it would be very loud. But yeah, we got to go down there and see it. And one thing that I myself didn't fully know was that most of the trains that go through there, I think they said 80% that come through there are loaded on dock at the Port of LA or Port of Long Beach, but they go past Colorado. They go past the Rocky Mountains, and that's kind of the cutoff point that makes it worth it to build this train. But these trains are put together at the port, and most of them aren't, disassembled with this car going here, this car going there. Those trains pretty much run straight through that hub south of LA, and then they go out towards Inland Empire, which is another extension of the Alameda Corridor, which is being built right now. But they go out and they just keep going. So a good portion of the rail that goes through the Alameda Corridor is built on dock at Port of LA, at Port of Long Beach, and just continues out to the rest of the country. So that's actually very important to know. Very important. Very interesting. I didn't know. And we got a tour, so that was very cool. And we also got to see a facility that Ralph's owns in Paramount, which is incredible. But hopefully you guys talk about that in OMG420 supply chain management, or maybe even get to go on a tour of that. Very impressive. But that's it for this quiz number 5, chapter 6. Midterm will be next Sunday, covering these quizzes. It'll mostly be the same types of questions and this material we went over, and also some of the threaded discussion material. And I'll also add some review material for that.